So today I'm about to test out 40 years worth of Nerf blasters to see how much better they've gotten over the years. We're rolling it back all the way to the 90s. This is how Nerf blaster packaging used to look. Nirvana, Tupac, and Metallica were some of the biggest artists during the decade, and this is what cell phones look like. In 1992, the very first Nerf Dart Blaster was released. As context, this came out the same year that the very first text message was sent. Load in your dart, pull back the priming handle, pull the trigger, and that'll fire a single dart. It's super simple in concept, and this tried and true firing mechanism has been used and improved upon over the decades. The sharpshooter is such an important blaster, I made a whole dedicated video to it, and you can check that out after this video. Also in 1992, we saw the release of the Nerf Bow and Arrow. A fan of this channel, Jordan, let me borrow this blaster plus the original packaging. We can see that iconic color palette and drawing style. Notice how the box advertises how safe and high-tech this bow is. Place an arrow on the firing tube, pull back, and release to fire a single arrow. It advertises up to around 33 feet in range. I mean, firing massive arrows still has its appeal. And they're like relatively accurate too. Truly, I've never had a stronger urge to go out with this and fight some local ninjas. No, seriously, that's what they did in the commercials. And now they're in your sights! In 1994, some Nerf blasters became more beast-like with the Max Force series. The Nerf Max Force Rattler is especially zany. It's a triggerless blaster with a rattlesnake tail, which kind of acts like the priming handle, lever, and trigger. Yeah, it's like really awkward to use. The Nerf Max Force Eagle Eye merged the idea of an eagle and its sharp eyesight into a bolt action blaster. This is apparently the very first Nerf blaster to have a built-in laser beam. Oh yeah, look at that. That's freaking cool. I mean, it's a wimpy light, but it works. The bolt action prime works, it fires past 20 feet, overall pretty decent. The Max Force blasters were memorable to me because they just leaned into their goofy gimmicks despite them not always landing the dismount. Now for our final blaster of the 90s, the 1999 Nerf Airjet Power Wildfire. This is Nerf's first attempt at a full auto blaster. Pumping up its lever stores up air power. The more you pump, the more this pressure gauge increases. After that, you hold down the trigger and watch 20 darts get fired off in full auto fashion. I mean, does that ever get old? The satisfaction of full auto fire is peak, but very short-lived. It takes at least 30 pumps to fully charge this up. It's bulky, heavy, and at the time, an expensive blaster. In the upcoming decades, we'll see how full auto Nerf blasters have changed for the better. Kicking off a new century now. 2000s Nerf packaging featured more humans on the boxes than the 90s. Biggest artists of the decade include Britney Spears, Eminem, and Beyonce. The first iPhone came out in 2007, and YouTube came out in 2005. The 2003 Nerf Tech Target Eliminator is the very first Nerf blaster I ever owned. It came with what I still believe is one of the coolest digital targets Nerf has ever made. With arcade-like sound effects and game modes, it was a lot more complex than the actual blaster itself, which is a simple single-fire blaster. Even though this is my first Nerf blaster, I'll be honest, I didn't like the ergonomics before, and I still don't now. Also, the old school mega darts it came with were so poorly made that they often ended up decapitated. Yeah, firing experience, Now I'm taking you to one of the most iconic Nerf blasters of all time. This is the 2007 Nerf N-Strike Maverick. Although the original blue Maverick came out in 2005, the yellow and black one is the far more recognizable color scheme. At a budget-friendly $9, this was the gateway blaster for countless people into the hobby. For a compact pistol, it had a relatively high 6-dart capacity within its revolving barrel. So around this time, the mega darts from the 90s and early 2000s were slowly being phased out with the smaller micro dart and other similar sized darts. Depending on the darts used, you could easily clear the 30-foot range and get decent accuracy too. During the Mavericks era, you'd be really hard pressed to find a blaster with a similar cost to performance ratio, mod capabilities, and influence on the Nerf community. This is the 2008 Nerf N-Strike Recon. What if there was a mag-fed blaster with tactics out the wazoo? The Recon is essentially the answer to that question. Man, as a kid, the Recon scratched so many tactical itches with its attachments and combo capabilities. Its framework is like the founding father for following successors like the 2012 Elite Retaliator and the 2020 Nerf Elite 2.0 Echo. And like in my case, it was a popular subject for performance and cosmetic mods. In the 2000s, mag-fed blasters like this were still not yet accurate because the streamlined darts traveled far and spread wide in a bad way. Oh no, a Gaussian blur. That means these 2000s blasters must be so special they deserve their own video coming in the future. Now entering the 2010s. Nerf packaging looked more diverse than ever with all their different sub-series. Drake, Taylor Swift, and Ed Sheeran dominated this decade's charts. iPhones 4 to 11 came out in this 10-year period. And in the 2010s, we transitioned from renting movies to streaming movies. I mean, come on, of course we gotta start off with the Nerf N-Strike Alpha Trooper. Over 13 years later, the N-Strike Alpha Trooper is still one of my favorite blasters of all time. So unlike the Recon, the Alpha Trooper came with a whopping 18 dart drum magazine, and its slam fire capabilities allowed for really fast pump action firing. This became an instant classic, with people just becoming magnetized by this mag-fed pump action blaster's reliance and performability. What? How did I screw that up? I mean performance and reliability. When Nerf introduced the revamped N-Strike Elite series in 2012, you bet Nerf was really quick to re-release the Alpha Trooper with boosted performance, but accuracy was still an issue. A few years later, the N-Strike Modulus series, focused on wacky and creative tactics, is new to the scene. This is the 2016 Nerf Modulus Tri-Strike. Throughout the 2010s, Nerf was getting cheaper with their paint. Most of the paint would be on one side, and then the other side would be more lackluster. It has the rare ability to fire 3 different types of ammo. The main body draws inspiration from the Nerf Recon. It uses magazines that fires your good old inaccurate elite darts. A lot of standard blasters like this that fired elite darts had an average velocity of around 70-75 feet per second. The Mega Barrel extension has a 4 Mega Dart barrel. The missile launcher acts as your stock, but it can also do this. The missile launcher can also work on its own. Creative blasters like this is what made Nerf so special to me. Here are the 5 winners from last video's GamerSupps gift card giveaway. If that's you, go down below to get the instructions on how to get your free prize. For everyone else, get 10% off your entire order by using legit bread so you can buy emotional damage or something else. This brings us to our final blaster of the 2010s. The 2019 Nerf Rival Perseus represented the upper echelon of the Nerf fine dining experience. None of this air pumping nonsense from Nerf's first full auto blaster 20 years back. The Perseus was powered by its included rechargeable battery. Nerf Rival Hopper technology was relatively new, and the Perseus further demonstrated the easygoing nature of just dumping rounds in versus tedious reloading that came with standard dart blasters. This is an example of a 3D printed hopper that people were making for these types of blasters. Average velocity of 99 feet per second, an astonishing 8 rounds per second. I mean, that just never gets old. The Perseus elevated how fun I thought a Nerf blaster could get. And finally, the 2020s. A lot of Nerf packaging is more simple and a little bit more eco-friendly. Taylor Swift is still dominating the charts. Other big artists so far include Post Malone and Billie Eilish. Smartphones have gotten better and they still make people depressed. This decade we saw a lot more AI technology, including chatbots, text-to-image generation, and more. In 2021, Nerf supersized some of their blasters with the Mega XL series. This is the 2021 Nerf Mega Boomdozer. It fires Mega XL darts, which are currently the biggest Mega darts ever made. This is definitely on the goofier spectrum of Nerf blasters, but even so, it works really well. And now for Slamfire. I have practically no complaints about how it fires. I mean, the build quality is just super solid as well. The thing is, Mega XL darts are really heavy, so they don't fire fast or far. The gimmick made for good laughs, but unfortunately these blasters weren't popular enough to warrant more releases. 2021 was the first and the last time we saw any releases of Mega XL blasters. In 2023, Nerf shocked everyone with the surprise release of the Nerf Pro Strife X. As context, other dart blaster companies out there have been making super powerful pro performance blasters. And Nerf, they showed no interest in joining the party until the Strife X. Right now, regular Nerf dart blasters are hitting around 75 feet per second, but my Strife X clocks in at 175 feet per second. This only has semi-auto firing, but even so, it rips through half-length darts with blazing speed and precision. This here is one of the most significant blasters Nerf has released in the early 2020s. Regardless of the sharp $120 USD price tag, I'm still sitting here like, dude, Nerf, please make more of them. For my full review and the product listing, I have links down below. For the final blasters of the 2020s, I have a twist. Let's cover some great blasters not made by Nerf. But why? Most people can agree that the slogan, "It's Nerf or nothing," has been flat out wrong for years now. Multiple other companies have risen in popularity, especially during the early 2020s with the release of highly competitive blaster products. For example, in 2023, we saw the release of the Extra Insanity line, with ridiculously massive and modular dart storage blasters. In 2024, DartZone continues to push their pro performance blasters. In 40 years, I think we've seen blasters evolve into more powerful, accurate, and fun toys. I'll be diving into more fascinating Nerf blasters from the past on this channel, so subscribe so you can help me make that happen.